When this came across my email, I couldn't help but say yes to our next guest. Keith O'Brien, he's the author behind this book, a new book, Heartland, A Forgotten Place, An Impossible Dream, and the miracle of Larry Bird, telling the Larry Bird story like it's never been told before. Keith is with us now. Keith, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
I had to kind of wear some kind of green today, show a little love for the old Celtics. As we were talking before we got started, growing up in the Midwest, as both you and I did, there is something we all know, Larry Bird. He was my grandma's favorite player. So many people can relate to that. What was it for you? Why did you want to dive in and do all of this research to write this fantastic book about Larry?
So, anytime we've come to this story in the past 50 years, we always do the Bird Magic story. We do the Larry Bird Magic Johnson story together. And listen, as a storyteller, I understand why we do that. Bird and Magic will play in the most watched game of all time in March 1979 to end their college careers. And then, of course, they're going to save and change the NBA in the 1980s. But, in the 1970s, they don't know each other. They're not friends, they're not rivals, they're not anything. And so what I wanted to do with this book is really just sort of tilt the camera in a different direction and come at it from a different perspective and really focus on this remarkable origin story of Larry Bird and the cast of characters who were around him. These players and coaches in rural Indiana in the 70s who change him, shape him, and at times, frankly, save him. And I think that's just a completely different story.
And I'm so glad too. We're taking a look, of course, at some of the pictures when he played at Indiana State. I was able to learn a lot. I didn't realize there was a time he was supposed to play for Bobby Knight. And then, of course, that went a different direction. And just to hear his struggles, I felt like I knew a little bit about that, but the research you have put into this, was there anything that surprised you? Because obviously the interest had to have been there. Then you did all the research to talk about the games, talk about the upbringing and things. Anything surprise you?
Absolutely. So much. You mentioned that Bird briefly plays, or at least signs to play basketball for Bobby Knight at Indiana University. He's on campus for all of 3 weeks in August and September 1974, 3 weeks. And then he quits and hitchhikes home to French Lick. And the most surprising thing to me is this. In that winter of 1974-75, Larry Bird nearly slips away forever. There is an alternative universe, where we don't know his name, where he never escapes French Lick. He has drifted all the way to the edges of the basketball map by the spring of 75. And it really is this down on his luck assistant coach at Indiana State, a man named Bill Hodges, who's going to save Larry Bird and pull him back from the brink. And in that way, without Bill Hodges, maybe we don't know the name Larry Bird at all.
Okay, and unfortunately, we don't have much time left. I am curious. I'm so impressed by the research, Keith. This is the first book that I've read of yours, and the detail and the way you tell it. As a former sports broadcaster, I thought it was a fantastic job. I want to know, how long did it take you, and have you heard if Larry has picked it up himself?
It took about 2 years. And Larry did not participate with me for the book. And since the book came out last week, I have not yet heard from him. But I was in Terre Haute last week with most of his teammates and with Bill Hodges during the launch of this book. And it was an amazing launch, an amazing experience.
Oh, fantastic. I'm so glad I got to talk with you today. Again, Larry Bird is my grandmother's favorite player. And when I saw this, I just knew I needed to talk to you. Great job. Again, you can get this book, Heartland, out now. Take care, Keith. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.